You should listen to the Tucker episode. He knows about Navalny and says that he thinks Ukraine killed him in the Russian prison. Wait, what? I don't have time to dive into all this shit right now.
So I just wanted to get to that because I'm coming at this from not a global perspective. I'm coming at it from an American perspective.
So you mentioned Navalny.
Mm-hmm.
After you left, Navalny died in prison.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on, just at a high level first, about his death?
It's awful. I mean, imagine dying in prison. I thought about it a lot. I've known a lot of people in prison, a lot, including some very good friends of mine. So I felt instantly sad about it. From a geopolitical perspective, I don't know any more than that. And I laugh at and sort of resent, but mostly find amusing, the claims by American politicians, who really are the dumbest politicians in the world, actually. This happened, and here's what it means. And it's like, actually, as a factual matter, we don't know what happened. We don't know what happened. We have no freaking idea what happened. We can say, and I did say, and I will say again, I don't think you should put opposition figures in prison. I really don't. I don't. Period. It happens a lot around the world, happens in this country, as you know, and I'm against all of it.
He's referring to what? The J6ers or Trump? The love? Jesus, kill me, bro.
But do we know how he died? Short answer, no, we don't. Now, if I had to guess, I would say killing Navalny during the Munich Security Conference in the middle of a debate over $60 billion in Ukraine funding. Maybe the Russians are dumb. I didn't get that vibe at all. I don't see it. But maybe they killed him. I mean, they certainly put him in prison, which I'm against. But here's what I do know is that we don't know. And so when Chuck Schumer stands up and Joe Biden reads some card in front of him with lines about Navalny, it's like, I'm allowed to laugh at that because it's absurd. You don't know.
There's a lot of interesting ideas about if he was killed, who killed him. Yeah. Because it could be Putin. It could be somebody in Russia who's not Putin.
Yeah.
It could be Ukrainians because it would benefit the war.
They killed Dugin's daughter in Moscow. So yeah, it's possible.
And it could be, the United States could also be involved.
I don't think we kill people in other countries to affect election outcomes. Oh, wait.
I like how, Jesus, sorry. Wait, what? Who's, I like how, well, they killed Dugin's daughter. I think they were aiming for Dugin, by the way. So if they killed one person, they could literally kill any person. Like, my grandma, I can't do a Russian accent. My grandma has cancer and she died yesterday. And I think the Ukrainians, killed her. And it's like, well, how do you know? It's like, well, they killed Dugin's daughter, right? Oh, fuck me. That's true. They did kill Dugin's daughter. So I guess they could literally kill anybody at any point in time, always. That makes sense.
No, we do it a lot and have for 80 years, and it's shameful. I can say that as an American because it's my money in my name. Yeah, I'm really offended by that. And I never thought that was true. And I spent, again, I'm much older than you. And so I spent my worldview was defined by the Cold War. And very much in the house I lived in Georgetown, Washington, D.C., that's what we talked about. And yeah, and the left at the time, I don't know, the wacko MIT professor who I never had any respect for, I know you've interviewed, et cetera. Like the hard left was always saying, well, the United States government is interfering in other elections. And I just dismissed that completely out of hand as stupid and actually a slander against my country. But it turned out to all be true, or substantially true anyway. And that's been a real shock for me in middle age to understand that. But anyway, as to Navalny, look, I don't know.
Took you till you were middle age to read anything about the Cold War? Why do all these South American countries look at America sideways? I never realized. I thought they maybe just hated white people. Okay.
But we should always proceed on the basis of what we do know, which is to say on the basis of truth, noble truth. And if you have an entire policy-making apparatus that is making the biggest decisions on the face of the planet on the basis of things that are bullshit or lies, you're going to get bad outcomes every time. And that's why we are where we are.
Does it bother you that basically the most famous opposition figure in Russia is sitting in prison?
Well, of course it does. Of course it bothers me. It bothered me when I got there. It bothers me now. I was sad when he died. Yeah, that's one of the measures of, it's one of the basic measures of political freedom. Are you imprisoning people who oppose you? Are you imprisoning people who pose a physical risk to you? There's some subjective decision-making involved in these things. However, big picture, yeah. Do you have opposition leaders in jail? It's not a politically free society, and Russia isn't, obviously. And as I said, a friend of mine from childhood, an American, actually, he was a wonderful person, lives in Russia Moscow with his Russian wife, and I had dinner with him. He's a very balanced guy, totally non-political person. And speaks Russian and loves his many Russian children and loves the culture. And there's a lot to love. The culture that produced Tolstoy. It's not a gas station with nuclear weapons, sorry. Only a moron would say that. It's a very deep culture. I don't fully understand it, of course, but I admire it. Who wouldn't? But I asked him, what's it like living here? He goes, it's great. Moscow is a great city, indisputably. He said, you don't want to get involved in Russian politics. And I said, what? He said, well, you could get hurt. You could wind up like Navalny if you did. But also it's just too complicated. The Russian mind is not exactly this. It's a Western, it's a European city. It's not quite European. And the way they think is very, very complex. Very complex. It's too complicated. Just don't get involved. And I would just say two things. One, I'm not sure. I don't know. But my strong sense is that Navalny's death, whoever did it, probably didn't have a lot to do with the coming election in Russia. My sense from talking to Putin and the people around him is they're not really focused on that. In fact, I asked one of his top advisors, when's the election? And she looked at me completely confused. She didn't know the date of the election. Okay. She's like, March? Okay. And I asked a bunch of other people just in Moscow, who's Putin running against? Like, nobody knew. So it's not a real election, right? In the sense that we would recognize at all. Second, I was really struck by so many things in Moscow and really deeply bothered by a lot of things that I saw there. But one thing I noticed was the total absence of cult of personality.
Oh, shit. Oh, never mind.
Propaganda, which I expected to see and have seen around the world. Jordan, for example. I don't know if you've been to.
I thought he was going to say total absence of wokeness. So good thing I didn't make a prediction.
Jordan, but go to Jordan. In every building, there are pictures of the king and his extended family. And that's a sign of political insecurity. You don't create a cult of personality unless you're personally insecure and also unless you're worried about losing your grip of power. None of that.
Wait, does he apply this to Trump at all?
Interesting. I expected to see a lot of it, like statues of Putin. No, there are no statues of anybody other than like Christian saints. So that was like, I'm not quite sure. I'm just reporting what I saw. So yes, it's not in a political sense, it's not a free country. It's not a democracy. in the way that we would understand it, or I don't want to live there. Okay, because I like to say what I think. In fact, I make my living doing it. But it's not Stalinist in a recognizable way. And anyone who says it is should go there and tell me how.
I mean, this question about the freedom of the press is underlying the very fact of the interview you're having with him.
Right.
So you might not need to ask the Navalny question, but did you feel like, are there things I shouldn't say?
I mean, how honest do you want me to be? I mean it when I say I felt not one twinge of concern for the 8 days that I was there. Maybe I just didn't. And I feel like I've got a pretty strong gut sense of things. I rely on it. I make all my decisions based on how I feel, my instincts, and I didn't feel it at all. My lawyers before I left, and these are people who work for a big law firm. This is not Bob's law firm. This is one of the biggest law firms in the world. Said, principle either, national security principle either. That's my, or you can't trust me. Okay. So I thought, before I go over here, I was getting all this, we're having all these conversations with my producers and I about this. And I decided, I'm just gonna act more better than others for sure. But I mean, in other words, Zelensky may be better than Putin. I'm open to that possibility. But to claim that one is evil and the other is virtuous, it's like you're revealing that you're a child. You don't know anything about how the world actually is or what reality is. Like it's
That's quite a realist perspective, but there's a spectrum.
There's a spectrum. Absolutely. I'm not saying they're all the same. They're not.
And our task is to figure out where on the spectrum they lie. And the leader's task is to confuse us and convince us they're one of the good guys.
Of course. But I actually reject even that formulation. I don't think it's always about the leaders. I mean, of course, the leaders make the difference. A good leader has a healthy country and a bad leader has a decaying country, which is something to think about. But it's about the ideas and the policies and the practical effect of things. So we're very much caught up in the personalities of various leaders.
Okay, I feel like Lex didn't say here that Navalny got killed by Ukrainians. That was a kind of a backhanded suggestion by Tucker here, but I don't think, unless I'm missing a part here, it doesn't seem like Lex brought that up. But still, fuck Lex. Lex was the one who suggested it first. Wait, was it? I thought Tucker was the one who suggested it first.
Killing Navalny during the Munich Security Conference in the middle of a debate over $60 billion in Ukraine funding. Maybe the Russians are dumb. I didn't get that vibe at all. I don't see it, but maybe they killed him. I mean, they certainly put him in prison, which I'm against. But here's what I do know is that we don't know. And so when Chuck Schumer stands up and
wait, fuck, was it before this? Because right here, this is Tucker suggesting it first. Or is that not what his implication is here? Hold on.
The debate over $60 billion in Ukraine funding. Maybe the Russians are dumb. Only during the Munich Security Conference in the middle of a debate over $60 billion in Ukraine funding. Maybe the Russians are dumb. I didn't get that vibe at all. I don't see it, but maybe they killed him. I mean, they certainly put him in prison, which I'm against. But here's
you guys keep saying keep listening. Thank you, Incinerated Kids. Destiny, they're autistic. You're right. Yes, you guys keep no. Tucker is suggesting it right here. That
country, as you know, and I'm against all of it. But do we know how he died? The short answer, no, we don't. Now, if I had to guess, I would say killing Navalny.
He's saying maybe Russia killed Navalny, but they would be dumb to do so. No, he's saying why would Russia kill Navalny here? That would be really against their interests, wouldn't it be? He's saying that backhandedly. He's not suggesting that Russia. He's suggesting that Ukraine killed him. No.
During the Munich Security Conference, in the middle of a debate over $60 billion in Ukraine funding, maybe the Russians are dumb. I didn't get that vibe at all. I don't see it, but maybe they killed him. I mean, they certainly put him in prison, which I'm against.
I feel like Tucker is the one insinuating that Russia wouldn't kill him. They don't have the motive to.
But here's what I do know is that we don't know. And so when Chuck Schumer stands up and Joe Biden reads some card in front of him with lines about Navalny, it's like, I'm allowed to laugh at that because it's absurd. You don't know.
There's a lot of interesting ideas about if he was killed, who killed him? Because it could be Putin. It could be somebody in Russia who's not Putin.
Yep.
It could be Ukrainians because it would benefit the war.
They killed Dugin's daughter in Moscow. So yeah, it's possible.
And it could be, the United States could also be involved.
I don't think we kill people in other countries to affect election outcomes.
So yeah, Lex is a little bit more explicit here, but Tucker is the one who I think flows this idea first. But Destiny, Tucker didn't say Ukraine, just that it'd be done for Russia. Well, I can't, hold on. Stop. Why are you guys being so autistic?
He was also probably...
Was the sentence structure too difficult to follow? I don't understand. Hold on.
Dumb. For Navalny during the... If I had to guess, I would say killing Navalny during the Munich Security Conference in the middle of a debate over $60 billion in Ukraine funding?
So the implication here is there's a conference where they're having an argument over whether or not Ukraine is getting $60 billion, right? So killing Navalny here helps Ukraine. That's the implication. Russia definitely wouldn't kill Navalny here because it makes them look bad, which probably weakens the argument against giving Ukraine money. So killing Navalny here helps Ukraine. That's the implication that Tucker Carlson is making here. This is very obvious, no? I guess you could say maybe it's the U.S. as well, but I think that